Good evening and very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It's our pleasure to be presenting episode 85 of the long-running Geelong Region Soccer Show. My name is Tonchi Prusak. Steve Curtin joins me as he does week in, week out. Good evening, Stephen. How are you tonight?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Tonchi. When you say warm welcome, if there's ever a need for a warm welcome, it is after the weekend that we've just had. So that's much appreciated, mate. And how are you going yourself?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. All going good. All going pretty well. It is a cold night here in G-Town, but we have got lots of sizzling soccer action for you over the next let's say 60 minutes, give or take 5 minutes or so. We've got some great guests, lots and lots of football action to get through. Stay tuned, folks, because we've got some amazing footage of some of the football played over the weekend. We've got some ripper goals. The swirly, windy conditions over the weekend made for some, let's call them unorthodox goals. And we've got some absolute rippers. And we've got two talented teams who scored their first senior goals this weekend. One male, one female. So much to get through tonight. It is going to be a ripper show. And we thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Tonight's episode sponsored by the Geelong Region Football Committee in conjunction with Football Victoria. And boy, have we got a lineup of guests tonight. Steve, who have we got on the show on tonight's program?
Yeah, well, two very, very highly credentialed guests tonight. First up, coming on at 8:30, we've got the Country Leagues Football Association rep, Mark LEAMAN, and he's going to be talking about something that's been, well, what do we say? It's 3 years in the making now, the Country Championships, after Geelong was set to host it in 2020 and 2021, and in 2022, I'm just touching the timber of the desk here. It's going to happen this weekend. Can you believe it? And we're going to speak to Mark, and he's going to tell us all about what's going to be a really, really big weekend of representative junior football in Geelong. So it's one to hang around for. And then after we finished speaking to Mark, we've got Mike McKINSTRY, chairman of the Geelong Region Football Committee. And it's always good to get Mark on because he's able to give us the scoops, the insights, the inside information of what's happening in the, what do we call it, the Oval Office or the behind closed doors at the Geelong Region Football Committee. So it's great to have Mike coming on, and we really appreciate it. And it's also worth hanging around to hear what he has to say.
Absolutely. Look, over the course of the show, over the course of the 60 minutes, if you've got any questions for either of our guests tonight, we're also going to have some photos or images from last night's Geelong Region Country Championships representative squads Guernsey presentation. That's a bit of a long-winded intro into that one. There's some good photos there of some kiddies there as well. There's the usual array of politicians and VIP guests. And one VIP guest brought the toilet seat along. So you want to know all about it. And from what I'm told, it's a lot heavier than what people may actually think. So
it looks heavy. I'm glad that A-League players, that those guys are in the gym a lot, because I think that would be, you would need to be working out to be able to lift that above your head. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we do return, straight into the news desk. So much happening. Don't go away. Geelong Region Soccer Show. Now, Steve, before we go into the news desk, last night on the Football Hour show, you had a little bit of a break, so hopefully you enjoyed the break. Mate, we had a Geelong boy, an ex-Geelong boy on the show, and those of you from Drysdale Soccer Club will know this gentleman very, very well, Jesse Mays. Jesse is now in the UK. He's got an interesting story to tell. And he is basically working for the English FA as a kit man, one of about 15 or 20 or so countrywide. And basically they're farmed out to whoever needs a kit manager or a kit coordinator. He spent the last week in Poland working with the Welsh Football League, Welsh national football team. Today he was en route to, I think it's Armenia, with the Scottish national team. Very interesting interview. He's managed to carve out a career in the football industry, but not in the conventional sense as a player or as a coach or even as an administrator. Worth watching that interview. Jesse Mays on the Football Out West show. It was simulcast on our program here, but we had a little bit of issues. Go on the YouTube channel, Football Out West show YouTube channel. You'll catch the replay there. It is a really interesting interview. Steve, we also had over the weekend, Corio Soccer Club kind of officially opened their club rooms. We had the usual politicians from local and state level. They were on hand to officially open the fantastic new club room facilities there at Corio. Mate, have you had a chance to pop down there and have a bit of a squiz?
I was fortunate enough to get down there Sunday before yesterday, week and a bit ago, and yeah, I was very impressed when I got along there to see the girls Geelong Galaxy playing there, and looking forward to also getting along to a Corio home match there on a Saturday afternoon or evening, and seeing the green and white balloons there, and everyone looks pretty excited, don't they? And why wouldn't they be? It's been a long time coming, and it's very good facility. That veranda out the front is very inviting and very pleasant place to watch football. The bar inside as well it looks good. They had the music pumping on the MTV or something playing when I was in there, catching up on some chart toppers from the noughties. It was it was a good place to be the other Sunday. But there you go, a big glitzy opening there as you'd expect, and congratulations to Mario Gorio and everyone involved in making it happen, because it's been something that's well deserved and very important, not only for football in general, but for encouraging female football, which is something that Corio is really trying to improve at the moment, and they're doing so, and also bringing Geelong Galaxy on board at the venue as well. So, full steam ahead from here, and very exciting times down at Hume Reserve, I'd say.
Look, in the last 3 or 4 years, Corio have got 2 brand new pitches, basically fully irrigated, new turf, magnificent floodlights. For those in the know that the pitch, which is now pitch 2, which was the main pitch, when the floodlights were erected, there's a very, very small pocket in one corner of the ground where the powers that be, when they installed it, they didn't, I think, I don't know, the engineers or a city of Greater Geelong, I don't know, whoever it was that did it. There's a little pocket, it's a little bit dark, but apart from that, it's not too bad. But now, pitch 2, which is now pitch 1, does that make any sense? It's actually quite pleasant to watch it now, undercover, a little bit raised. Okay, the way the facility is designed, the club rooms are behind the goals. You always want that to have it be on the side, but you can't have it, I guess, there. Having said that, compared to what it used to be, it is an amazing facility. So it is great to see that happening there. Mate, let's get straight into the roundup. We'll start off with the NPL leagues. We'll go into the Men's State League. We'll have a little bit of a break. Then we'll look at the VPLW, the women's competitions, and then the local as well. So a lot to get through tonight. Let's get straight into it, mate. Let's have a look at the NPL2 first of all.
Yeah, NPL2 on Saturday afternoon saw North Geelong. Another win for them. They just keep notching up wins week in, week out. 4-1 over Northcote. Northcote, a team who beat them back in round 1 up at John Cain. And opening the scoring was the youngster scoring his first goal for the club, the teenager Noah Skoko, on 13 minutes, when further goals from Salvatore, Caleb Mikulic, and Anthony Banavarts as well were the icing on the cake. And Northcote had their former Heidelberg player, Harry Noon, sent off. He saw red in the second half as well. And you've got a little bit of footage that you...
Yeah, watch this. This is the first goal. Watch the way he controls it. 16-year-old Noah Skoko. There we go. Jumps up, kills the ball, lobs it with absolute precision. I mean, that is a 16-year-old who is going to go places, and not because his old man's a former Socceroo, because the kid at 16 years of age is a regular fixture in the North Geelong starting lineup. And for a kid like that not to be selected in the Australian under-17s, I mean, I don't get it. Just don't get it. But anyway, there was only 2 Victorians, I think, selected in that team.
Surely he must be on the radar there, but it definitely helps to live in New South Wales. Wow, what a goal that was.
Nelson Salvatore, and I think that was the wind that took.
That was in
That's
the
for
front
sure.
row of the spectators area he kicked that from.
Yeah, amazing stuff there. I think this is the third goal. But North Geelong are a class act at the moment. They look like they are home and hosed for, well, not yet, but they look like they are heading for promotion to the NPL competition next year. So we will have elite level football in Geelong again next year, without a doubt. But an
Yep.
incredible kind of there's Anthony Banavats, Rose High. He copped a head knock after this and was actually
Yep.
taken off the field, but a great, courageous bit of football there. And North Geelong
Absolutely.
are doing really, really well in NPL too.
They are indeed, and yeah, they're favourites for promotion to the top tier. And yeah, obviously, we say it each week. It'd be pretty exciting if that can happen, and we can get the NPL Victoria, the NPL 1, that is, down to the Geelong region. Be all for it if we can make that happen. Bring it on. Let's talk about NPL 3 now, where Geelong were hoping to get the 3 points against Ballarat. And here's some footage from that with the player coach Jake Butler showing us how it's done, getting the side on the score sheet early in this game. I think we got footage of the goal or just some action leading up to it beforehand.
Yeah, I think there may well be some footage of the goal. Geelong, look, Ballarat City were very unlucky, particularly in the first half, not to take the lead on several occasions. They just seemed to pepper Geelong's goals, and Geelong, in the end, I think they'll be very disappointed. Dom Swinton, ex-Geelong player, was the fella that in the end scored the goal for Ballarat. But look, they would have been very, very disappointed in the end. Jake Butler, the veteran player coach there, he managed to score a goal for Geelong. But look, the top 4 teams have got a chance of promotion in NPL 3. So the top 2 automatically get promoted. Then teams 3 and teams 4, so in this particular case, if we look at the ladder, Western United and Preston, they would then play a qualification knockout phase, if you like, or games against the 11th and 12th place teams in NPL 2. So Geelong, look, they need to start collecting points, and they need to start collecting points fairly quickly. I mean, that was 2 points for the day. That was 2 points lost, not one gained, and they'll be Jake Butler, the Geelong coach, he was really, really not happy at all. This week, I think Geelong take on, is it North Sunshine Eagles away on Saturday?
At Larissa Reserve. So that's always a tricky place to go, but I think that'll be a pretty exciting match, that one at Larissa Reserve, and they'll have to up their game to get the result there and bring home the 3 points. But I wouldn't put it past Geelong to bounce back after they'll be disappointed about not getting the win against Ballarat. Now we need to move on to State 1.
Yep.
Corio managed to get a point against the more highly rated Brimbank. 1-1. Chol with the goal in the second minute for Corio. So certainly off to a good start in that match. But they did share the points. They still find themselves at the foot of the table. They're going to play 7th placed Yarraville at home at Hume Reserve at 3 o'clock this Saturday. So a chance for some retribution there and a chance to maybe try and leapfrog Strathmore or Clifton Hill on the table there.
But a disappointing outcome for Corio. They drew against a brilliant side, Brimbank Stallions, who are pushing for promotion. And look, they've got a game in hand. Had they have beaten Corio on the weekend, they would be outright in second place with the game in hand. So they would be livid. Brimbank Stallions would be absolutely livid. Now, despite that awesome result, because Strathmore, the team that was previously on the bottom, coached by former North Geelong Warriors coach Mickey Cholina, they won. They won on the weekend. They beat Whittlesea United. And as a result, Corio now on the bottom. Now, Steve, this is a statistic that I'm not very proud of. I'm not very happy about. And
yes, you pointed this out to me a little while ago. Yes.
I did. And I want the Geelong football clubs to do something about this. All 4 men's state league divisions, and we'll talk about some of the other ones later, all 4 Geelong state league divisions that have a Geelong team, 4 of the Geelong clubs are on the bottom, including the next one, State League 2 side. Geelong Rangers, they're also on the bottom. Come on, guys. We don't want any Geelong team to get relegated this year. So what happened in State 2, Steve?
State 2, well, Rangers managed to pick up a point, their third draw of the season, 1-1 against Westgate at Myers Reserve. The goal scored by Liam Mitzi. So better than a loss. Better than a loss. They're still at the bottom of the table. They've still got to try and chase down Moreland United and Hume United to get out of those bottom two places. And the good news is, I suppose, that they've got a match this Saturday evening at Laura Douglas Reserve against Hume United, 7:15 up there. And if they win that, they can just edge a bit further, closer to some sort of something that might resemble safety to keep them in State 2.
Yeah. An absolute must-win game for the Rangers. Go Rangers. Over to State 4.
State 4. All of our teams featured in 2-1 results in State 4. So Surf Coast, good news for them, 2-1 over Spring Hills. Their captain, one of our own on the show, Tom Langman, scoring. Also Blake Hegarty. So 2-1 for the Coasters, a good win. Bell Park, they came close to the Keilor Wolves. The goal from Nick Nugent, but they lost 2-1 against the Wolves. And also Golden Plains, who for the second week in a row saw Benny Neelangal find the back of the net. They lost 2-1 to Westside Strikers Caroline Springs, and sets up next week where they're all on the road. Bell Park off to Melbourne City, Golden Plains off to that tricky assignment of Keilor Wolves at Green Gully Reserve, and Surf Coast will go to Arndell Park and play the Truganina Hornets.
Okay, some big games there happening in State 4. I guess State 5 is a real mixed bag of results. And when you've got, I suppose, four Geelong clubs out of the 12, some are bound to be up near the top, some are bound to be near the bottom. We've got ones right up the top and ones right down the bottom. Now, Barwon, it says it's a game in hand, but I think that has not this is the Victorian ladder game against been updated. And what was the score? They're are outright top, aren't they?
Yeah, so they have updated that one since we've taken that graphic, and they are now 2 points clear on top on 33 points. So that's good news that they finally got around to doing it. They could have done it before we needed to take that graphic, though. Like you say, that would have been quite handy. So their results on the week. Oh, sorry. We might be having some internet issues tonight as well, just causing us more havoc as well at the moment. We'll just get those results for you from the game. So Lara in a high score at Balmoral, 3-3. Meanwhile, the local derby match, should I say, was on Saturday evening, a thriller. Barwon 3, Deakin Uni 1. And the Surfside Waves, they were on the end of a 5-1 beating by the Melton Phoenix at Shell Road Reserve. So they remain on the bottom spot on the table. But as you mentioned, all those sides that we've got on the bottom, we have got Barwon on top of State League 5, and they're looking like favourites for promotion to State 4. And, well, it'd be exciting to see matches between Barwon and the likes of Surf Coast and Bell Park and Golden Plains next season, if that comes off that way.
Yeah. Well, next week's rounds, we've got Barwon at home to Wyndham FC. So, look, second last Wyndham FC, but you can never underestimate these teams. Melton, interestingly, they're at home to Ballarat. So, look, Ballarat have had a topsy-turvy kind of a season, but come on, you Ballarat folk out there, make sure that you get behind Ballarat SC so that they can do Barwon a favour and hold Melton to a draw. Then we've got Surfside Waves are away to West Point. Deakin Ducks, they're away to Maidstone. A very important game this for the Ducks. If they want to keep in contention, for promotion, they're going to need to start stringing together, some very good results. And they've been doing that, winning games, then losing, winning, then losing. So they need that bit of consistency. Look, Lara have been very impressive at times. And they're in ninth position, but there are times when they've done really, really well. They've got a tough game. They come up against Bendigo FC and Bendigo City, I should say. Bendigo City FC. Bendigo City are sixth. But Bendigo City, as you would know, Steve, being an old Bendigo boy, when you travel up to Bendigo, Epsom Huntley Recreation Reserve seems to be a bit of a fortress there for Bendigo, isn't it?
It's a long way away, and it's the other side of town. When you get to Bendigo, you go all the way through. You get to check out the fountain and the old post office and see the tourist trams and all that sort of stuff. You've got to get to experience that. But you've got to keep going another sort of 15 or so minutes beyond towards Echuca before you get to the Epsom Huntley Rec Reserve, which is, well, it's a really good facility these days, and it's shared between Bendigo City and Epsom Soccer Club, the old boys that we used to knock around with back in the day in Bendigo. So, good venue there. Good venue. And I'm sure Lara will enjoy their trip up there if they can bring something back.
Yeah. Look, we're going to take a very, very short break, folks. Thank you for tuning into the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Before we go, have a break, in fact, and we've got some breaking news from our man Brenton Ray. We've got to put him on the payroll, if not the Football Hour show here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Breaking news, folks. Yet to be confirmed, but if Brenton Ray says it, then it is just generally going to be the case. Brenton says, I also can confirm North Geelong's round 14 home game against Langwarrin is streamed on NPL TV, which is Saturday, June the 18th, 3 p.m. at Alco Park. I'm sure a lot of Warrior fans would have liked this Saturday's game against Moreland Zebras up at CB Smith Reserve to be streamed, but nonetheless, finally, North Geelong will get a Guernsey on NPL TV, so that should be excellent.
Long overdue. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, don't go away. We're going to come back very, very shortly. It's time then to look at VPLW and an incredible goal by a 14-year-old up-and-coming talent. Don't miss that. We've also got the Women's State Leagues and the local Geelong Region competitions. It's the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Now, before we get further into our second part of the weekend roundup, Steve, Melbourne Victory had their gala night, I think presentation night on the weekend just gone by. We saw quite a fair few Geelong supporters there as well. I think Larry, coach Ryan Horrocks was there, Kylie Grisbeck, councillor, City of Greater Geelong, who's heavily involved with the Lara United Club. She was there. Santino Mamone, our man from Carayo's Soccer Club, was there. And Brenton Ray, he was presented with a Member of the Year award. We just spoke about Brenton prior to the break. Well done to all of those folk. And, of course, can't forget the Geelong connection as the football operations manager is John Didlitzer, former North Geelong Warriors player, coach, and president as well. So we've got a strong connection with Melbourne Victory, but also with Western United, this year's premiers and this year's champions, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Well, let's get into the women's roundup, and let's start off with the VPL.
Yeah, really good result for the Galaxy. They seem to go well on the road, and they seem to like playing on the synthetic up at the Eltham North Recreation Reserve, where they beat Eltham. Coming from behind, 2-0 down, they come back with those goals from Hunter Gurkovic. Her first senior goal, Lola Button also scored, and Phoebe Vivian scored what I believe was also her first senior goal as well at the club. So congrats to the girls for coming from behind to get the win here. And here's the footage of the goals, and 3 terrific goals they are, an individual effort. The first one there.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant there.
I think that was Hunter scoring that first
I think
goal.
It was actually, yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yep, I'm pretty sure it was. She's
She's
only 14 years of age.
It's crazy.
And 9 months. The youngest player. I mean, she had to get her and her twin sister, Poppy. Look, another goal from a very acute angle. Basically,
that through pass there was fantastic as well to set that one up too. I think it was Katie Hyam who set that one up with the through pass, threaded through the defence between the fullback and the centre back. It was excellent.
And look, you see some of this. There's some really good skills on show. And look, being a very young side, consistency is always going to be a problem, obviously, with young players. But the talent is there, the ability is there. They just need to really, I think, whoopsie, they just need to, I guess, get that consistency happening. And look, let's go back to that ladder. Look how close it is. Look how close between teams third place and seventh place. So third place Southern United and seventh place Casey Comets. There's just 3 points separating those five teams. Yeah, it's very, very close. Now I think this weekend coming, Galaxy take on Southern United, if I'm not mistaken. A vital game. This is a really, really important game.
Yeah,
what do they call them? 6-pointers.
Yeah, it is a real 6-pointer, and I see those two clubs as real old rivals because they were both playing together in the NPLW a couple of seasons ago. They both got sort of booted out together at the same time, and I think and Galaxy often had the wood over them when they were in the NPLW as well, and they always have pretty exciting matches. So I expect this weekend's match, which is round 10, to be no exception when they play. That's 3:00 this Sunday at Hume Reserve.
Yeah. North Geelong, on the weekend, they came up against a very, very tough Spring Hill side. What was the outcome there, Steve?
Just chasing that one up now. If you want to jump in first.
It was played at Elko Park.
It was a high scorer.
It was. They went down to 3-4. It was 3 goals to 4. Now, it was Spring Hills. They're a good side. They're a very good side. 6 wins, only 1 loss. And they along with Moreland Zebras, have really escaped from the pack. So it was always going to be a tough game. But look, competitive. Managed to really do quite well and really take the game there. Kimberly Cobarubia scored in the 41st minute. After Spring Hills had already taken a 2-0 lead by that stage, so brought one back. Young Julia Akmacic, real exciting young talent. She scored in the 63rd minute. And then Louisa Kump scored in the Louisa last 5 or 6 games or something along those lines. She's she really is on fire. Scored 8 goals in 7 games this year. Yeah, absolutely. So she's doing really, really well. North Geelong, they've sort of slipped mid-table position. They were doing really well at one stage, but they've had a series of setbacks, if you like, and have really struggled in recent weeks. This weekend, they've got an absolute tough game coming up against the undefeated Moreland Zebras, Moreland Youth. That one's at DeChaney Reserve on Sunday, 3 p.m, and the Warriors will be coming up against one of their most celebrated daughters in Laura Sporanovic, who now plays for the Moreland Zebras. It'll be a tough game for the Warriors, but these are the games where you really learn. And I mean, it's been an amazing ascent from State 3 last year to State 1 this year, and being quite competitive. 3 wins and 3 losses from their 6 games as well. So they do have a game in hand. I think it's Essendon Royals, if I'm not mistaken. That will be a tough game. Now, State 2, Lara.
Yeah, Lara had a really big win, 6-0 at Lara Recreation Reserve on Sunday against Ballarat City. And there was a hat-trick for Kenyon and also goals for Eastway, Riley and Wilkinson. So, they came out firing and they certainly blew Ballarat City away, did the girls from Lara United. And next week is round 8. They're going to go on and travel to Kim Reserve, where they'll play Altona City at 2:30 on Sunday afternoon, Tonchi.
Tough game, that one. Altona City, they got a game in hand. If they were to win their game in hand, I think it is against St. Albans Saints. And you could almost expect them to win that. They would be on 17 points, along with Lara, along with Ballarat, and only 1 point ahead of Spring Hills. Very, very close right up the top there. Very close. But Lara United, what they have got going for them is a ridiculously good goal difference. Look at that. 29 goals for, 4 goals against. They're undefeated at the moment, as is Ballarat, as is Altona City. So lots of interest around that competition there, the Women's State League 2. Women's State League 3, another team that's doing really well.
Yeah, another goal difference boost. You mentioned the goal difference, a real goal difference booster here with Rangers beating Maribyrnong Swifts by, wait for it, drum roll, 14 goals to nil. 5 goals for
Wow.
5 goals for Emota, 4 for Zara, 2 for Danny Mandich, 2 for McDermott, and 1 for Lane. So, wow, that's a real goal fest in that particular match in the Women's State League 3 West in round 7, and in round 8. Rangers will go on to travel to Paisley Park, where they'll play Altona East Phoenix on the pitch number 3 there at Paisley Park. So that's our wrap of the women's matches from yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, they can't get too complacent, but I'm sure they won't. They've got some very experienced coaches there in Foddy Kiprin and Tony Horrocks, so they're looking good up the top there, Geelong Rangers. Let's move now to the domestic scene. When I say the domestic scene, the local scene. First of all, we do have the Geelong Region, and yeah, it's a bit annoying when you've got a couple of teams that haven't updated their ladder. Maybe.
Yep.
Oh, look, the clubs, they want publicity. They need publicity, and especially at the local level. But then they don't update their results, and that's just awful. I don't like it. But let's talk about the actual games that did happen.
Yeah. All right. So Friday night match saw Bell Park get the 3-0 win over FC Leopold in the men's Division 1 at the Leisure Time Centre. As they said, don't have the result. Breakwater Eagles against the Pelicans. Do not know what happened there. If you know the score, you can write it in the comments. Feel free.
Barwon and played? Was it washed out? Was it?
Yeah, we don't know. It's a mystery. The mystery game. The ghost game.
We don't know.
Barwon and Surf Coast, always a bit of a derby match, that one. And it was Barwon 5-1 over Surf Coast. So big winners there, the guys from Grovedale Reserve. We might even have the goals there. There was goals for Leather. Favetta got a hat-trick, and Doothie, while Caldwell scored for Surf Coast. Well done on entering the goals, whoever is responsible. Thank you, Elko Park Cardinals. They had the bye, and we'll look at the matches just quickly this weekend coming up. Elko Park coming off that rest. They will play Armstrong United at 7 o'clock at Elko Park. Also on Friday night, FC Leopold will host the Breakwater Eagles. So a lot of clubs looking to get their match in before the long weekend. Very smart. Good idea. Bell Park on Sunday, they're going to host Surf Coast up at Bell Park Sports Club, and Barwon gets the week off for the long weekend. So they did pretty well. Yeah, as well. We'll look at Before we look at
the women's, a big shout out to Adam Leather, who had his dreadlocks shaved as part of the greatest shave on Saturday. They raised a fair bit of money there. Well done to Adam Leather. And his dreadlocks have been a staple part of Grovedale Reserve. They're part of the furniture, just like Dale Harris is over there. And it was another look. That's probably the third now shave for cancer or shave for charity this year. Well done to Adam Leather and to everyone involved at Barwon Soccer Club who were involved with that. So now over to the women's, Steve.
All right. Yep. So the women's matches took place 1 o'clock, 1:30. They all took place early on Saturday. Surf Coast 6-0 winners over Geelong Rangers. So a big result there. And Geelong over Drysdale 2-1. And that result says final after extra time. I'm sure there wasn't extra time, though, because it was a regular league match. Deakin Ducks Gold 4-2 over Barwon in the other match there. So, well done for getting those results in. This weekend, we've got Surf Coast and Geelong, Drysdale and Barwon, and Geelong Rangers hosting the Deakin Ducks. All of those games are on Saturday at that time, 1 o'clock.
Yes, well, we really covered that, and we've gone a little bit over time what we wanted to do. We're going to have a very, very due return. We've got our first guest tonight, and it is going to be Mark LEAMAN. He's a Country Leagues Football Association representative. He'll be talking to us about the Country Leagues Football Association and indeed the Country Championships coming up this weekend here in Geelong. Don't go away, folks. It's the Geelong Region Soccer Show, episode 85. Yes, the Football Out West show every Sunday night from 7 p.m. We've had some ripper guests over the last few weeks, and this weekend it is the special Caroline Springs George Cross Football Club themed show. So to get an insight into what Caroline Springs George Cross is all about, make sure to tune in this weekend. Steve, we've got a very important guest coming up. He's the representative of the Country Leagues Football Association. His name is Mark, and it is an absolute pleasure to have us on the show here. We had a few little hiccups earlier before, but I'm sure he's going to be back on deck. And there he is. Great to have Mark. Mark, thank you for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. How are you?
Yeah, good, guys, and thanks for having me.
Now, the Country Leagues Football Association essentially is the organisation that oversees and runs the Victorian Country Junior Championships each year. It's been a frustrating last couple of years, not just for the CLFA, but for everyone, I think. But third time lucky, we're finally getting the Country Championships up and running in Geelong this weekend. And tell us how it's all been happening behind the scenes over the last few years, and also tell us a bit about your role there at the CLFA.
Yeah, look, for me, I've just taken over the role on the executive with Neville Keane and Corey Copen. So, look, I was the president of Orpha and Aubrey Wodonga for the last 5 years. I've been involved for 35 years. I've coached at the championships way back in the 90s. So I've got a long relationship with the Country League, and I actually spent a couple of years in Geelong when I was working down at Geelong Grammar, did a bit of soccer down there as well.
Oh, nice.
So, so it'd be good to come back and have a bit of a look around and see what's different down there. So I haven't been down to Geelong for a long time. So looking forward to the weekend. Look, we've got 64 teams from all the country regional areas coming to Geelong. Got 20 female teams and 44 male teams, which is about 1,100 players and staff, which is really good. 2 years of COVID, like we've cancelled this for 2 years in a row, where we've been, almost, within a month or 2 months of running it, and then bang, the government makes another change to the COVID restrictions. So it made it very challenging. But hats off and a credit to all the associations around Country Victoria to getting this one up, and also to Geelong itself. Like, they've had 3 cracks at this, and I'm hoping this should be a fantastic show because they've had plenty of time to get organised. So they should do a great job, which we're looking forward to it.
Now, Mark, I'm sure you're going to enjoy your long-awaited visit to Geelong coming up this weekend. I got no doubt about it. Now, just how can you describe how challenging it is for you in your role to get this event off the ground this year after the last couple of years that we've been through?
Well, we've been having monthly meetings and working with the association delegates from around the country regions, and it's just getting them engaged and seeing where they're at, because like getting teams organised and getting people to sign up. I mean, the biggest challenge this year has been probably that 13 plus age group upwards, where kids have decided, do I want to play sport anymore? Do I want to be in a team sport? Is there other things? Have I learned new things that they want to do? Especially individual sports where they can train and they're not told when to be somewhere, when to be training, and all that sort of stuff. So, but we're certainly pushing on the being in a team sport, and certainly being with your mates and your friends from school, and that's a really important part of your social networking going forward. But also, my times from coaching, you meet so many new people in different regions, and you make friends with people in different regions too. So it's a great networking for the future for a lot of these kids and coaches.
Now we see I know with the Geelong junior selection teams, they have certain limitations. Things like kids that play in the NPL system are ineligible, which is a great thing, and it gives a lot of the local kids that otherwise probably wouldn't be able to play representative football a chance to shine kind of on the elite stage and all that kind of stuff. But it's also a good opportunity for a lot of coaches, budding coaches, to get their foot in the door before they maybe step into, say, NPL circles or maybe even higher. What are the regions like as far as coaching this year? Has it been hard to attract coaches? Has it been very easy to attract coaches? What's the general consensus around the rest of the regions here in Victoria?
Look, I think most regions have done really well to get coaches, because you're looking at one person, and usually as a parent becomes the manager. I know from my experience in Albury-Wodonga Football Association, we've never had a problem getting representative coaches. We've got quite a strong region. We've got an NPL club with Murray United in our region, so we've got very competitive there for coaching as well. But we seem to do quite well. And the other regions do really well. I think the biggest challenge is getting enough players to commit to a long weekend away. As you know, sometimes they take this as an opportunity to have a weekend off. Families do things. Getting that family network to say, well, let's go to Geelong for a long weekend and have a great time. We'll play some football and we'll go out for dinner, and we'll have a great time away with their brothers and sisters and grandparents and stuff like that. So I think that's the challenge, is getting all those people to commit and getting their accommodation. I mean, as you can imagine, the last 2 years, people have booked accommodation and have had to cancel. So, getting a refund or holding on to that credit, I suppose, has also been a challenge for them too. So we're very fortunate now that we've got what I call COVID normal. So we can now get back and start playing football again, which is a fantastic for the sport and for the whole country region.
Yep.
Now, Mark, perhaps following on a little bit from David Anderson's comment about the days when he used to travel from Deniliquin in the Bendigo League to play in Kyneton in the snow, which is very good to reminisce about things like that. Just for people who don't know much about this competition, how far and wide have we got kids and parents travelling to Geelong this weekend?
So we got people coming from Gippsland, we've got Ballarat, Bendigo, Albury-Wodonga, Mildura, and Warrnambool. People coming from Cobram, so the four corners of Victoria, people are travelling from all to go to Geelong.
That's fantastic. The Country Leagues Football Association, what are the plans going forward? Is it just happy to sort of focus on the Junior Country Championships? I know a few years back, there was pre-COVID, there was talk about having like senior men's and senior women's, almost like a Champions League tournament at the end of the year. And I think there was one held here in Geelong. Is any talk about expanding that or resurrecting that, or just happy at the moment just to sort of keep the Junior Country Championships going?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great question. I think the first priority is to get this championships up and running, get back to the system that we've had in place for as long as I can remember. Absolutely. I think there needs to be, there may be opportunities where we can invite international sides, especially places like Fiji, Vanuatu, stuff like that. They may like to come along. So great for them to do, and also adds a bit of an international flavour to the championships. We've talked about the senior side, and I guess we'll have a conversation after these championships about whether we introduce that at the end of their seasons. So there's lots of things that we can offer, and it's about whether the associations want to be involved in that and getting the teams together. So absolutely 100%. I think we need to expand where we can. I mean, we've got the Women's World Cup next year, so hopefully we can actually get a women's, country regional women's tournament going, and we can run it over a weekend. They can play 3 or 4 games over the weekend and a final, and away we go. And we can have what is the best regional senior men's, senior women's team going around in Victoria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be good to see. And I remember in previous years, I think going back to about 2002, there was like the Geelong Region League played off in a senior competition, just a one-off game against the Bendigo region at Stead Park that night as well, I think, when the Junior Country Championships were being hosted there this time. But speaking of Stead Park and Geelong venues, how do we go about organising and scheduling all of these matches over the weekend when there's, as you mentioned, a staggering amount of young kids coming down to play? Who looks after all of that, and how will that work, and what venues will be involved?
Yeah, so we got Myers Reserve and Stead Park are the 2 main venues for the weekend. We're actually going to have, for the first time ever, 41 matches across both venues will be live streamed by News Corp.
Wow.
Which is the first time. So that's going to be really great to have. I can't think of the guy's name. Is it John Bonjono?
John Bon Jovi. John Bon Jovi, that's a big name.
Yeah. He's we got a referees delegate. He's organising the referees for us, and we've got about 47 referees coming down to the region. We hope to get to about 50 by the weekend, so which is going to be really great to have as well.
Yep. Is it
Nick? And they'll they get mentored and they'll be given some feedback, the younger ones. So hopefully, you know, they're future senior referees going forward, and who knows where they may go in the future. But it's great for them to be refereeing at a higher level, and also to get some feedback as well on how they can improve.
Ben De Bono, that's the fella.
Ben De Bono, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
John
Bon
Jones.
I'm probably gonna pay for that this weekend.
I wonder if Ben can do a rendition of "Living on a Prayer."
I'll ask him.
On that note, it promises to be a fun-filled weekend, and we've already set the mood for a very, very exciting and happy kind of a weekend. We're going to be talking to Mike McKINSTRY very shortly about the Guernsey presentation night that was held last night at the Cardinia College, and also the logistics, the true logistics of organising all that. But in the meantime, Mark, fantastic. Thank you for joining us on the show tonight. It seems like it's going to be a fantastic weekend. So, folks, get out to Myers Reserve or get out to Stead Park throughout the course of the weekend and take in some absolutely brilliant junior football, male or female. It's going to be awesome.
All the finals will be on Monday. So, you know, definitely on Monday, come down, see the best teams play. You know, support all the hard volunteers from Geelong. You know, they've done a power of work over the last 3 years to get this up and running. So we'd love to see as many Geelong people out there come down and support the community and support the kids as well.
Awesome. Good on you, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us.
And good luck.
That was Mark LEAMAN from the Country Leagues Football Association. Folks, don't go away. We're going to be back very, very shortly when we return. It's the chairman of the Geelong Region Football Committee, Mike McKINSTRY. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. I'm sure Mike will be very, very happy to answer them. And we look forward to, by the way, ask him, is he a Celtic man or a Rangers man? Let's find out.
That's the first question.
Don't go away. It's the Geelong Region Soccer Show, episode 85. Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and a guest that we always love having on the show. And we welcome to the program tonight the chairman of the Geelong Region Football Committee, Mike McKINSTRY. Mike, good evening. How are you?
Tonchi, how are you? Steve?
Very well, thanks, Mike.
Good to see
Can we hit
guys.
you with that first question, assuming that you support a team from Glasgow, and who might that be?
Oh, no surprise. I'm celebratory mode at the moment. My brother, I told him at the start of the season, watch out for this guy, Ange, from Australia. He's pretty good. And of course, in Glasgow, they get no clue who he was.
Yeah.
Now everybody in Glasgow knows who he bloody well is. So I'm delighted. I'm a
Yeah.
Celtic fan. So I always wind up 40 Kyprian, who probably a lot of people on the call. And Tonchi, you certainly know.
Very
he's a
well.
Rangers
Good old friend of
supporter,
ours.
so, yeah.
Of course, Foddy's a Rangers supporter. He's up at Geelong Rangers this year, and he's doing a great job there with the women in State League 3. Mike, Geelong Region Football Committee, we've just spoken to Mark LEAMAN. It's been a hell of a last 2 years for absolutely everyone involved in anything in the world. Thankfully, hopefully, that is behind us. Third time lucky, the Geelong region is going to be hosting the Victorian Junior Country Championships. Tell us a little bit about behind the scenes and the logistics involved and the organisational side of things. How's it all come about?
Oh, look, there's a huge amount of efforts gone in over the time. I mean, I got involved last year when we had to cancel, but the year prior to that, of course, I wasn't around at the time in the chair role in GRFC. But there's been an organising committee in place now, basically for the last 3 years. So Diana Moraes, who some people on the call may or may not know, she was originally the tournament director in 2020, did a lot of the hard yards, and then of course COVID came. And then Lisa Brooks, who's probably on the call in the background there. Lisa's done a fantastic job over last year and this year, and we've had a an organising committee. There's a photograph of a number of us last night down at Cardinia College, just trying to pick up that, and you can see the A-League thing. Steve did a great job in bringing that championship trophy down. And yeah, you're right, it is bloody heavy.
It's not a.
So
it's not
Steve,
a.
I've got a photo of him with it actually over his shoulder, and it's bloody heavy. So. But yeah, so we've had the country championships coordinating committee ongoing basically for the last 2 years. We've met every month, and then as we got closer to the event, we've then started to meet weekly. In fact, we had a call earlier tonight, just before this, just doing the final prep for this coming week. But we've had representatives from Football Victoria, we've had CLFA, who you just had Mark on, and Neville Keane as the outgoing president's been heavily involved. He's done all the fixturing and so on. So there's a lot of back and forth going on. We obviously talk about it at every GRFC meeting with all the presidents of the clubs, so we're keeping everybody up to speed with what's going on. So a big part of what we do and what the whole organising committee done is communication. So people have got to know what's happening, when's it happening, because as Mark was saying earlier, people have, I think coming out of COVID, people have now got other things on their agenda and choice as to whether they want to continue to do football or soccer or something else. So a huge amount of vaccine stuff, huge amount.
Now, Mike, how are things on the GRFC at the moment in the boardroom, behind the scenes, and what are aside from the country championships, I suppose, what are the big challenges that you're facing at the current time and during 2022 in general?
Well, the boardroom. Well, this is it. It's called the bedroom.
It looks good.
It's the converted office. No, look. I mean, what we do at GRFC, as you might know, is we get together with all the club presidents roughly monthly, and we have representation there from Football Victoria, and I guess we try and ensure that the voice of Geelong is unified in the way that we talk to Football Victoria, and for that matter, others. So, and one of the things that we've just agreed with Football Victoria is to actually do an updated Geelong regional football strategy. The last time it was done was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've now just got approved from them. We're not approved because we put to them to actually update that. So we're trying to do some of the things that, for example, AFL Barwon have done. They've done long-term projections in the growth of the game. And obviously with the growth in Geelong, population growth, we now know that there's a lot of facilities that are now under pressure. Not every club has adequate lighting, all that sort of stuff, changing facilities. So we're going to embark on this strategy document that we can then use to go to state government and, for that matter, local government, say, hey, what shape is the game in, and are we actually investing enough in alongside other community sports, and really try and raise the profile of football and soccer amongst every other code of a sport that's out there, and really give it a voice. So that's what we try and do. Obviously the clubs of it, some are very, very strong clubs. You mentioned many of them earlier on the call, and good on them. They can advocate on behalf of themselves, but sometimes some of the newer clubs need a bit of help, and we try and level the playing field to some extent, try and get the quality of the game up. And I think apart from the hardware, everybody talks about facilities, but the other thing is what I call the software. So we do need to have good standard of coaching. We do need to have, therefore, subsidized coaches, for example, so they can actually do training, coaching courses, because it's not cheap. And equally the same is true with referees. Apart from getting qualified as a ref, the other thing is just to try and maintain a bit of a standard so that when refs go out, they're not getting, the usual crap that they can get, let's be honest, from, some parents and for that matter, clubs. And we really try and reinforce the standards and try and, make sure that the game's actually going to be healthy for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems there's so much that can be improved across the board, whether it's in as you mentioned, the facilities, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the number of referees, but it's also it's also giving the kids a lot of opportunity. And one of the things we spoke with Mark was that the Geelong Region Football Championships, or the Geelong Region teams, they're not they're not eligible. NPL players are not eligible, which is a good thing. So it allows a lot of the kids that otherwise wouldn't get a taste of representative football to get that. So that's really good. Have you noticed that over the last few years, when there has been that kind of rule brought in, a lot of these kids then tend to take their soccer a bit more seriously, maybe move on to NPL or move on to a little bit of a higher level afterwards? Has that been a sort of a growing trend, either in the male or the female domains?
Well, look, I mean, one of the things, I mean, clearly we want to have a strong local competition. So we try and balance that, I guess, between making sure equally that if you're an emerging player that's become a really good player, that you get the chance to play and play, Metro Comp. Just don't want to be holding players back. But what we have done locally within Geelong rules, if you want to put a team into one of the big Metro Comps, then you've got to make sure that you don't then have a gap behind you. You've got to also put a team locally. So, and that's been a rule that generally clubs have followed pretty well. And if by exception, for various reasons, that can't happen, normally the clubs ask GRFC to present a letter of support to Football Victoria, and Football Victoria then do all the fixtures once they've got that letter of support from GRFC. So I guess, Taunchy, it's a bit of a balancing act between trying to have a strong local competition, but equally not holding back really strong players who want to go on and play in Metro Comp.
Do we speak, Steve, now about the results, about having the results in by Monday so we can have updated lads?
Almost forgot.
We're still waiting to find out about the, what was it, the Breakwater Eagles? Who was it, Breakwater Eagles and Armstrong United? Yes, folks, we need to know the results by Monday afternoon so that
I'll raise that at the next meeting. How's that on your behalf? Well, in all of our behalfs, because we need to get it in. And that's one of the things that we've done recently at GRFC. We've talked about FV. So if you have a look now, for example, in the Geelong Advertiser, football's back. There was a while there you couldn't find any stories and wherever. We've now got that back in place, and Taunchy, you've been a big part of that. So thank you for sort of coordinating that and getting the stories.
Well, I'm just the recipient of it because I was approached at the end of the process. But kudos to the Geelong Region Football Committee, and we talk about the unity, and we drove that. We drove a lot of it with Mario Gregoria on this program. On this
Mario has been fantastic, absolutely.
Mario was, and that was an example of the clubs banding together and providing a united front. And kudos to the GRFC and Football Victoria, but also the clubs themselves. And that's something we say, Steve, don't we? That the clubs really have to be proactive and give us the information. I mean, Steve does a little spot on 93.9 Bay FM, whatever, the afternoon sports show. And Steve, tell us a little bit about that and how sometimes you go about finding information, on that. It's sometimes really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, the information is always sort of self-sourced, I suppose. Whether it's stuff that some of the clubs are quite good at giving us little snippets on their social media pages, which is really good. It's good to get that insight, and it's also good when we're commentating matches on weekends and things like that too, to get those insights into the players, what's going on behind the scenes, and that sort of thing too. So I think, as you say, Taunchy, the clubs can be proactive and put their best foot forward, and it takes a lot of work to keep those social pages up to date and everything. But it's really appreciated, and it makes the clubs look very good and professional. And certainly the clubs around Victoria that do that, whether it's in Geelong and beyond, they set themselves apart from the rest, definitely. Mike, I wanted to ask you a bit about the senior women's football situation in Geelong where we're at. We've now got 2 divisions this year. There's been a lot said about 1 division last year, 2 divisions this year. Where are we at, and what's our long-term sort of goal for senior women's football in the region?
Well, look, I think it's, Steve, it's a bit like in general with the rest of what we're trying to do. I mean, we really want to grow the game. I mean, participation is really, really something that is a big focal point in women's football. And look, particularly at the senior levels, as you sort of get older, I mean, you're juggling with a lot of other things as well. I mean, unfortunately, domestic duties fall to a lot of the senior women, so they've got to juggle that, kids, family, all that sort of stuff, albeit a lot of the younger. But we really want to see the game grow. So we're talking about trying to do some other things with FE to try and encourage players to play, even if, on a casual basis, because again, if women have went off, for example, and had children, often it's a challenge to get back into playing community sport of any form or other. So we're trying to organise come and try days, things like that, such that it's, just to give people, frankly, sometimes you need a break, as you know, from your family too. But also to keep healthy, a bit of fitness and well-being, and get out with mates, And so we're trying to do. There's no one magic bullet, I think, as you guys know. There's a lot of things and a lot of levers that you try and pull to gain interest, and to some extent, to come back to the country champs, it's trying to use events like this as a little bit of a kind of showcase, for some of the kids, because we've got, for example, 3. Girls teams. We've got under 12s, under 14s, and under 18s as representatives. That's a photograph, I think, of all the captains from last night from memory. Lisa might correct me because she's probably in the background there. And then we've also got, no, that's the individual clubs there. That's the so as I said, we had under 12s, under 14, under 18s. So, and then we've got 5 boys teams. We've got under 11s, under 12s, under 13s, under 14s, and under 16s. And it was really, really great event last night, not only for the kids themselves, but also for the family members that came along. And we got great support, as you can see. Councillors were there, politicians were there, and really lending it support. And the fact that Steve came down as well, and Joseph was there, Joseph Skoko was there. I introduced him as Lena's dad because everybody knows him more as Lena's dad. But it was great that he also lended support. And Steve did a great job to bring the trophy down because that was a bit of a draw card. And you could see that really sort of gave a lot of interest and excitement for all the kids. And I think the other thing, just on the country champs, because I know we're partly talking about both that here as well, I just want to give a shout out to some of the sponsors, because as you guys
know, absolutely, yeah, here's an opportunity for that. Yeah.
Don't happen, just by, and we've been really strongly supported locally by some very strong sponsors, in fact. So we've got Geelong Port, for example, TSC, Deacon Uri, Football Victoria itself. Victorian State Government gave us some support, as did City of Greater Geelong. And we've got CIT Solutions, Karaya Waste Management, and then the Country League Football Association. So, and some significant dollars were put forward to support the championship. And then the organising committee and Rob, one of our deputy chairs, has done a great job in helping coordinate grants and so on. So we've actually done a lot of work in the background to pay for a lot of the things that are required for country champs. Earlier on tonight, for example, where Lisa and the team were organising lights. Where are all the lights going to go for that? Because obviously it's getting dark towards the end of the afternoon. Into all that detail that you would, and that's all going to be hired, brought in. We've got, security, parking. Because as said earlier by Mark, we're going to have, we guesstimate, about 4,000 people coming to Geelong, of which about roughly over 1,000 will be players. But you bring all your family members with it, and all of that needs coordinated. Where are they going to stay? Now, we can't do that for them, but we try and provide connections to local businesses who've also given them a bit of a discount on accommodation, all that sort of stuff. So there's a hell of a lot goes on to try and get it to happen. And that's, again, going back to Steve's point, trying to raise a bit of excitement. And that's why it's great to see some of the girls' teams. And some of them are really strong. From talking to some of the coaches last night, there's some very strong rep teams there, which is great. So we're all keeping our fingers crossed that Geelong will do well, win the country champs.
Absolutely fantastic. We've as you mentioned, we've got some real blue chip sponsors coming on board. TAC, Port of Geelong, obviously City of Greater Geelong it's a major event. So the legacy that this tournament will allow. Will there be a legacy? Is the GRFC working on ensuring that there is some form of a legacy, whether it's these blue chip sponsors coming on board for other projects? And we all want a regional facility. We've had Kylie Grisbeck on this program. We've had Eddie Contel on this program, but I guess they can't do it on their own. That is the big dream, isn't it, to have a good regional facility? Is there talk with the Women's World Cup next year? Obviously, a big event such as this. Is there talk that we're going to get an infrastructure boost here in Geelong for football?
Well, there's been talk about it for so long, Tonchi, that to be honest, the honest answer is nothing concrete yet, and no pun intended, because I know there was some investment just announced at the weekend there at Bell Park, and that was about, $3 million in total. But yeah, we really need a bit of a cherry on the cake here to try and create something that would be a real showcase for the region. But I guess one of the things that I always try and balance is what we don't want to have one significant facility, and yet other clubs are still doing it tough. So I think we're going to try and make sure that we balance out the investment and the infrastructure spend for some of the smaller and emerging clubs as well, which is why we want to do that strategy, because we want to try and lift all boats, because we want to lift the quality of the game. Well, what I don't want to have, and don't think any of us want to have, is that the really strong clubs go out and thrash the other opponents 6-0 at the weekend. You're not learning anything, as you guys know, as a football player. If you're that far ahead, you got to play competitive clubs. So we want to try and bring everybody up to a good standard and not have like the Premier League in a Division 4. And there's lots and lots of energy going into that as well. So I think fundamentally, Tonchi, it's about trying to coordinate all of that with the clubs. But the good news is we're getting a lot more discussion now with FV about planning. And I think the legacy coming out of this is we're looking at how can we try and keep sponsors coming back to fund GRFC and that way we can work out collectively as a committee with all the clubs where are we going to start to reinvest some of that money if we continue to receive the sponsorship? So we're hoping, flowing on from the country champs, we can keep some form of sponsorship ongoing, that we can put a pot of money together centrally. Each club can still do their own thing, and they do that well, but try and put a club of money together centrally so we can direct it to where it's most needed. And one of the other things that we're trying to do for this country champs that hasn't been done before is we're going to run, in the middle of the championship, we're actually going to run all abilities soccer as well. So we've got a few games for people with disability who can come along too. So we want to make this a really inclusive event. And I know from my previous background, I used to work for Gen News, you might know, the disability service provider. So I think it's really important that we come together as a community, and it's not all just about winning. Yes, we all want to win, but we also want to make sure that, you know, Geelong is respected for the kind of, you know, community that we want it to be for the future. It'll be great for other associations to come in, because hopefully they'll go away and go, hey, if Geelong can do that, why don't we do that? Because I'm not sure they've all got that in place in their regions. So hopefully that's another bit of a kind of legacy that spreads out. And what we have said we'd do is we'll package up all the learning and all the problems that we've had getting to where we're at and put it in a little bit of a bow, and we're going to actually hand that to Ballarat, because Ballarat are actually going to host this competition this time next year.
There we go. We've got a scoop for next year's competition, and for those Geelong rep people that are not happy that it's locally, because everyone wants to travel and everyone wants a weekend away. Well, next year you'll have that in Ballarat. You can go visit Sovereign Hill, Cryle Castle, and what you know, and still take in some football action. Great to see.
And you
Mike,
can see a comment there from Country Champs on the right. That's Lisa Brooks banging away there with us. She's trying to go incognito, but I'll tell you who it is.
Let's bring that comment on. Lisa Brooks, president of Geelong Rangers, does an absolutely fantastic job. It's been an awesome team effort in the last 2 years to organise the Country Champs. We are looking forward to showcasing the Geelong region over the weekend for everyone's benefit. Absolutely fantastic. If you're not going away, make sure you head down to Myers Reserve or to Stead Park for some junior football action. Mike, finally, where are we with the strategic plan? What's the next step, and when do you see, how long do you see this process going? And
the strategic plan is actually on the board agenda for Football Victoria. The meeting on the 23rd of June, I think it is. Mm-hmm. There's a paper being written, drafted, that it's going there for approval. Well, it's not going there for approval because it's already been approved, but it's going there for noting, because we want to do this in tandem with Football Victoria, because I think, frankly, together we'll actually carry more weight than if we did it on our own. And that way, when we talk to state government and other potential funders, they'll know that it's got the backing of not only GRFC but also FE, and I think that's important.
A very important document. Steve, any questions? Any last questions for?
No, I was just going to emphasise it is a very important document. We're looking at something like 130,000 people forecast to arrive as new residents of the Greater Geelong region in the next 20 years. So it's astounding. So certainly with things like that forecast to happen, that's a good reason to to get everything lined up and get everything in place, and make sure that we're coming from a good position as best we can now, rather than playing catch up football.
And I know a lot of the people on the call here are the enthusiasts, but if you can, just remind your colleagues, your mates, your family about the Country Champs if they're not familiar with it. Look out for us on social media. There's a Country Champs website, but also on Facebook, etc. So look on socials and follow us over the weekend. But more importantly, if you can, get along. Tell people to pop down for a little bit, and just, really enjoy the atmosphere, because it will be great to see kids from all over Victoria coming together, and hopefully Geelong does well.
Can I just say, I live in Lara, and coming into Geelong every day down along Melbourne Road and down in Coria, near Stead Park, there's a sign there as you go down the highway overhead, and it's announcing the Country Championships are going to be held in Geelong. It's just awesome. You see that and you just sort of get really, really excited, and a bit of pride as well that Geelong is hosting the Country Championships.
Yeah, Mike, that was planned some time ago and involved the council, so we've had a great support, and that's, again, something we want to try and keep going in the future.
Excellent. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. And I tell you what, as we start to get a little bit more of a clearer picture around that strategic plan update, we'll have to get you or someone else from the Geelong Region Football Committee on board, because, as I said, I think it's a very important document, and the whole process and how that's going to involve the wider football community is going to be just as important as well. So good luck with everything on the weekend, Mike.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike. Good luck, mate.
Thanks.
Mike McKINSTRY, the chairman of the Geelong Region Football Committee. Geez, we've gone over time. There's so much to talk about. Folks, thank you for once again being a part of tonight's show. Steve, what are your plans on the weekend? You're hoping to get out and see some of the Junior Country Championship games, or are you going to be commentating NPL games?
Yeah, there'll be commentary. We've got Australia Cup. We've got NPL Victoria. And hopefully on Monday, as Mike pointed out, maybe we can get along and have a look at some of those finals games on Monday. What do you think, Tonchi?
Hopefully it might be a bit. Look, depends on how late it finishes. We'll be preparing the show for that night, but we're going to hopefully try and get someone on from the country champs, maybe Lisa Brooks or Pete Bradley or someone else involved with the actual tournament itself, or maybe Ben DeBano, the referee's instructor, the referee's
maybe John Bon Jovi could come on.
Yeah,
who knows?
Might be able to do a live version of a John Bon Jovi song. But on that note, thanks, Steve, for being a part of tonight's show. Thank you to everyone out there for being a part of tonight's show. We look forward to your company next Monday night, 7 p.m. for post-Geelong...
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Let's get that right. For a post-Victorian Junior Country Championship.
We will all be asleep.
It'll be a huge weekend. That's right. Awesome. Good on you, folks, and thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.